Wait for it. We are now recording. Welcome to this Datasets deep dive through the HubSpot Admin Hub. I am Kyle Jepson, the host, and I am losing my voice. So it's a great thing that we have Stephen McMillian here to take over and show you the ins and outs of this incredible tool. I'm super excited to have him here. Stephen, I will be monitoring the chat. So if any questions come through, I will let you know. But I'll let you take it from here.
Cool. Thanks for inviting me. Thanks for doing this while you're sick. I saw your Slack notification saying you were sick and you're still here, but please take the rest of the day off. My name's Stephen. I'm the PM for Datasets. I've been at HubSpot for a little under 2 years. I was with the Datasets team from the first meeting to launch through now. I know a lot about Datasets, obviously, but also just reporting at HubSpot. So happy to tie some kind of like pattern matching about how Datasets works with the rest of the platform, and maybe kind of answer some more like pressing questions about any confusions around how everything works together. Generally today, I was thinking about going through a walkthrough of the tool, specifically on joins, property curation, deriving data in datasets, grouping data in datasets, which is part of derivations, but sort of like a little really cool feature that people use the most. And then the connection between datasets and the report builder. And finally, a beta that we are in private beta that we'd love to show you all and see kind of like what you think, see who might be interested in joining. So a decent agenda. Please interrupt me and I'll try to stop for questions as well. But if that sounds good, I'm gonna share my screen.
Go for it. On the Q&A feature, so if anyone wants to drop questions in there, that's fine, or just use the chat. I will be monitoring it. And Stephen, you might notice once you start sharing your screen, you probably won't be able to see the chat anymore, but I will let you know if questions come up.
Cool, literally just interrupt me. Thanks. Share screen. What a weird, okay, let's see. Can you guys see my other screen? What screen are you guys seeing?
We're seeing the dashboard, test dashboard. We're seeing HubSpot.
Perfect. Okay, yeah, I literally lost, this is different than Zoom, so.
Yeah, no, it's super disorienting. I promise you're not all alone, just talking to yourself. We are here. We can hear you. We can see your screen.
I kind of like not seeing myself. I feel like I'm just like talking to myself in a room. Anyway, so this is a dashboard. To navigate to datasets, you go under the reporting dropdown, and then you go to data management, datasets. So here you are, the datasets listing page. Everything you see here is something that someone in your portal has created. If no one in your portal has created anything, it'll be an empty state. The first step would be creating a dataset then, or trying the demo, but I'm demoing for y'all. So here is the source selection page. If you've ever used the custom report builder, it should be a familiar page. We've tried to maintain parity. The purpose of this page is to select the different source tables that you want to report on. So what's actually happening in this page is we're doing a join. We're doing a join between the primary data source you select. Right now it says contacts. I'm going to change the deals. And then it's doing a left join with any other table you select. So right now it says I'm in a deals table and it's selected all 22 deals in my portal. This is my portal. I have like pretty sparse data. But if I join the companies to this, it's doing a left join and is looking for every single deal here and saying if there is a company associated, pull those companies. It helps you understand how many companies there are, how many deals there are, but then it shows you there are only 4 companies associated deals. So it's trying to help you profile what you're making in this stage. It just gives you an understanding of like, when you make a data set of this, you make a report off this, what should you expect to see? So for this example, I'm just going to do deals to primary source and company to secondary source, but I actually just want to pause right here on the joins page. Are there any questions at all?
One question I have while we give other people a chance to think for a minute. I know some of these features, the table preview at the bottom and the information in the right-hand panel, recently moved from just being in datasets to also being in the custom report builder. Are they exactly the same or are there differences between the two?
Yeah, I think the engineer on my team shipped parity between these this week, so they should be exactly the same today. The biggest difference, the only difference I know, is that there might be a knowledge-based article linked off in the report builder experience, so you could go straight to the documentation of like how to build a report. And because that doesn't apply to us, we removed it. But I think there should be parity between these two experiences.
Cool. And then Amber is wondering if you can just zoom in on your screen a little bit.
Let's see. How do I zoom in? Zoom. All right, I'm at
Ooh.
125. Hopefully better.
I definitely think that's better.
Okay. I'm going to move to the next step. So the next step here is curation. And this is where you're doing like a lot of the property curation. This is different than what you would see if you were to go to next in the report builder, where you would be dropped right into the process of building a visual report. Instead here, you're constituting like a data table that's going to be used for future reporting, other people to report on. What you're trying to do, or what we like hope customers have the ability to do in this stage, is like reduce the noise for their users and yourself. So if I have deal name like this, deal owner, amount, let's see, create date, amount, over here. So right now what I'm doing is I'm like actually making the columns that are going to be available for reporting later. So if I were to make a, like say this data set at this moment, and then go into the custom report builder to make a report, I'd have 4 columns to work with and only 4 columns, as opposed to the long tail of properties that you get in your portal. This might be hundreds of properties depending on how big your portal is and how many properties you have on any given object. So right now I'm just curating properties. One thing I can do in this curation step is recontextualize like what a property or column means to you. So just like in Excel, if for some reason we don't really call our deal owners, but in our portal, we have it as deal owner, I can use this moment to say, these are actually account executives. That way, when someone's using this column in a report, they can be like, when someone's in their reporting tool and they're looking for account executives, it'll actually index that and they can search account executives to get this. So I'm going to account executive. The other big thing here at this stage is you can create new columns of data. So not only can you select the data columns that are already in your system in properties, you can also create new columns. These columns are just in this reporting context. We're not putting new fields onto your records and muddying up the system. This is just something that like is important for you to create just to answer some question reporting. So a good example of this might be, imagine this amount is monthly recurring revenue, MRR. But I also need to understand really quickly what ARR is, annual recurring revenue, and that's not my system. I can do ARR, that's a MRR times 12. And this populates a new calculated column that just takes the MRR, multiplies by 12. The goal here was to create some experience that kind of was reminiscent of Excel. So if I'm creating a different field and I want to know what is the date diff between today and the creation date of this deal, for example, there's all these functions they're giving you. So absolute value, average, it's not average. I have some things in here that's beta, or like we're betaing or trying out. So not everything is actually parity. I should actually definitely take this out of portal. But date diff. Date part. So I'm saying I want to know how many days between the creation date of this deal and today. Today is actually like a function in itself. So what I'm demonstrating here is that you can nest functions together to use them in unique ways. So the difference between the create date and now. This will derive a number that looks ridiculous because this is fake data, but it's taking the number of days between 10/6/2021 and today and saying that it is 400. And then I can name this property, this column, which be, let's see, days since create. I'm gonna pause here. Any questions on like what I just showed you? Because I'm going to give another example on grouping data, which is another derived data field, but it's a little different. Any questions?
Yeah. A question that hops immediately to my mind. I will be very transparent with you and everyone here. Reporting is my Achilles heel inside of HubSpot. I am not good at reporting. One question I get a lot is, how do I represent today's date in a report? So could you just make a field that is that now function, and then you would have today's date, and it would just always be today's date?
Yeah, but as you see, it's returning something that looks like a date timestamp. So
interesting.
I'll do this. If you wanted today's date, I'll probably use the date from parts ability and figure, and probably I'll use like the now function, each of these different fields. Basically say the year from now, give me the month from now, give me the day from now, and that would constitute something that looked a little more like what you're expecting to see.
Yeah.
This like date field.
Cool. I feel like that opens a lot of doors for people.
Yeah, and the beta actually at the end should show you even more cool stuff about how we can use this for other use cases. Any other questions before I get into if functions?
So one person has asked, what's the key difference between create field and create conditional field? So I think they're cluing in on the fact that there are those two different plus buttons in the middle column there, and create conditional field is a beta. If you're getting to that in a minute, we can wait.
I'm going to get it. So there's no other questions. I can hop right into that.
Well, the one other question is, will we be able to change the format of the output when using calculated fields? Do you need more context on that one?
A bit. Change the format to me means different things. Like it can mean make it a currency. It can mean make it a percentage. Those are all different problems for our team. But I'm curious what like that question was aiming at. If it was
okay. Yeah. So Clayton, if you could give us a little more color there. Those are the two main questions right now. So if you want to.
Okay, I'm going to pick the function, and I'll come back to that question if he has any deal.
Cool.
So with if functions, someone pointed out that there's like create field and there's create conditional fields. The create conditional field does the exact same thing as the if function. Transparently, it's our team trying to figure out what is the preferred input method for our users. Do they want us to give them this free range text editor, or if we added some things that are a little more like guided and let people work in blocks and different sort of like maybe templatized methods, which one people preferred? And we're actively tracking this to get a preference marker, see like how we should think about these fields in the future. But I'm going to show the syntax first. So imagine that you want to understand your business in terms of priority. And the priority of your business is based on the MRR, the monthly recurring revenue potential of the deal. So I say, this is a field that's telling you about priority. I use the if function to say, if the MRR of the deal is greater than, let's pick my portals might not be in US dollars. Let's use ARR. Okay, so let's actually change the ARR. If this is greater than 60,000, what's a good marker? Let's make it 150,000, I think. 150,000. Then label the row as high priority. Otherwise, also these quotation marks are just a string. So it's saying, I want to label this a string instead of a number. A string is any sort of text that you might want to label something as. Or no priority. And as you can see, what it's doing is it's looking at every single row in this data set, and it's evaluating this condition. It's saying, if the ARR of this row was greater than 150,000, so this is less than, or this is actually greater than, sorry, then label as high priority. Otherwise, if it was less than 150,000, default to no priority. And this allows for you to take every single deal in your portal and say it's either high priority or it's no priority. And this has implications about what you might do in reporting and how you might break down your graphs, which I'll show later. The same thing is possible using the conditional field. Kyle, was there any specification about formatting? I just want to hit that point real quick.
No, I don't think so. Haven't seen a follow-up on that.
Cool. So the create conditional field, same thing here. I'm going to do the same exact example. Priority 2, I can't use the same field name. So if ARR is greater than 150,000, then default to high priority. Priority. There's a problem with your input because you need quotation marks. Also, yeah, we do our best, and we're comparing. This is one of the things we work that's so behind the scenes. We put a ton of effort into is trying to help people understand, like, if something does not resolve correctly, what was wrong. If anyone's ever worked with SQL, this is like the most painful thing ever, where they just say, there's an error around this line, figure it out. We're doing the best to kind of give more contextual understanding of what is wrong with this. It's not surrounded by quotation marks, and we are expecting a string. So do this to resolve your error. If it's not high priority, it resolves the else statement, which is, what was it called? No priority. And then we should see these resolve the same outcomes either way. But as you can see, it's just a way to do the same thing. The thing that we believe customers like more about this experience is when you have many conditions that need to be resolved together, like adding these blocks and being able to move them around is just a much easier way to get more complex nested conditions into the system. So any questions about what I just saw, I will show more examples of nested if statements with the beta sample.
Oh, okay. That was my request. When you said add more statements and be able to move them around, I was like, man, I want to see that in action.
Yeah.
Okay. So lots of questions coming in. Can you use emojis in your output text? I love the use of color in October Winners presentation. So I recently discovered that text fields inside HubSpot support emojis, and I've been seeing examples of people doing color coding on deals and ticket boards using emojis. Can you, like, instead of high priority, could you have like smiley face or thumbs up or something? Does that work?
I don't think so, but I'm not even really sure. Kyle, how do you do it? Is there like a keyboard drop down?
There is. So here is my favorite keyboard shortcut in the world. If you are on Mac, if you do Control Command Space, it opens your emoji keyboard.
Control Command Space.
If you're on, no, it didn't work.
Not for me.
What?
It might, but it's because it might be something that's about our input field and what's allowable. So.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, maybe not. But anyway, yeah, Control Command Space, or on Windows key period opens your emoji field.
Yeah, no, that didn't work for me. Okay.
What?
Anyway.
Okay. Well.
Whoa! What am I looking at?
There it is. Hey, ta-da! It's just slow.
Hilarious that I might be learning something on this call. Let's see. What is a high priority emoji? Oh my God, I have no idea if it's working or not. Okay.
But look over in the middle column. That is there. What about in the outputs, like inside your conditional statement? If you changed high priority into an emoji, would that?
Oh, this would blow my mind if it actually worked, because the report viz has to be able to reconcile this. Let's see.
We might just break stuff. Who knows?
Was it?
So I also find my emoji keyboard sometimes I have to prompt it a few times to come up. Yeah, I wonder if you could just copy paste from the field name, since you have an emoji there.
And
I might Control C, Control V. Ho ho ho! It worked.
Okay, are there any questions? This is hilarious to me.
Okay, shout out to Amanda for just changing the total trajectory of this call.
Yeah,
yes, there are other questions.
Product on this call.
Carter says, in the future, will you be able to query data sets with the API or GraphQL, or will it only ever be used with reporting? Good
question. I'm actively talking about this a lot with leadership. I would love to talk to you about your use case. Our data sets exist in Snowflake. So right now, we give customers ability to access our Snowflake instance through our data chair, which you would get through OpsUp Enterprise. And an open question in my mind is like, a data set is just this neat relational table that we're giving to customers and giving them the ability to shape. What if we allowed them to access this through a GraphQL like sort of interface or a federated layer or some SQL system? I just haven't heard that from that be a really pressing need from customers. So I'd love to connect on like your use cases.
Okay, Carter McKay. I assume you're Carter McKay at Pivot, and we are already on an email thread about something else. So Stephen, I'll intro you to over email cool. So you can discuss more. All right. Are you able to do if and / or? Example, let's say you want to say if ARR is greater than X dollars and create date was X, then high priority, if not low priority. So.
And what was the example? Whoa, it just popped out of nowhere. All of a sudden. Okay.
It's a squirrely thing.
Okay.
So yeah, if greater than X dollars and create date was X. I don't know if that's.
Yep. And create date. What's a good create date here? So 8/31/2020. 8/31/2021. And create dates equal. What is wrong with this statement? The function you provided a number. So I need to provide an actual. The work if I put a string around it. It will not. It's looking for. Yeah. This should work if I do the date from parts thing that I explained before. What's happening in this right now is it's thinking that this is a number and I have to constitute as a date. I think this works. We put from a date from parts. If we make it a date from parts, I'm not going to try in this moment, but I can get back to how this works.
But you can't. And is an operator that works here.
Yeah.
So.
And so I said ARR and MRR is greater than 50. But yeah, you can do you can do ors, you can do multiple ands and ors. You can use parenthetical. You can use parentheses to do sort of like a, what's that called? Algebraic. What's it? Order of operations type stuff.
Yeah.
What needs to be executed first. All of that stuff that's similar to algebra.
Cool. So we do have some clarification on the formatting outputs thing. So for instance, so the original question was, will we be able to change the format of the output when using calculated fields? And then the clarification is, so for instance, the date field that you showed. So if we say, give me today's date, it gives us a long strand of numbers, and we want to convert the number into the month, day, year, or month, day, year format, or give us month, day, comma, year. Another example is if we want to showcase the percent of a margin on a product, how can we format that to show percent versus just the decimals? So I'm imagining kind of like in Excel, when you format a cell, you can say like, this is a percentage or this is a date and I want the date formatted in this particular way. I know there are like.
Something like this, basically. Like there's all these different formatting things you can do.
Yes. So they want basically this drop down.
That makes sense. There's no way to do this. So for example, the date thing I showed was the date from parts. We're basically asking you to use a function to make that a date. It's like, that's so cumbersome. It's not something that I think is a great customer experience. Their port builder, where you would use this data set, is thinking more in depth about making that a quick action to change the format of the output. So that's something that we could probably share with them as like, we work on a very similar code base. So I'm saying is that we're thinking about how to make that easier. The challenge about this is all data that exists in HubSpot. So compared to something like Excel, where you can just quickly change the format, the column changes, everything we're pulling is in your CRM, and it is like, it has a data type to it. So this is not dollars. When we pull this from the system, we're pulling what the system tells us to us, and we're not like changing all the data in your system this moment. So that's kind of why it's weird for us to format data in a different way than exists in the system. We realize there's like really good reasons for that, but something we're thinking about actively. I think we'll have some solution soon on it. No date to that share though.
Okay. And then just two more questions here. I may have missed this earlier in the conversation, but I'd like to better understand what are the best use cases for using data sets if we can't leverage data sets in custom reporting in combination with like contact company object count fields. So Beth, I think this will make more sense to you once we move on from here to actually generating a report. The story is not completed yet. So I'm going to mark this question as answered, Beth, but if we get to the end and it's not answered, feel free to poke me again and tell me I was premature in closing it.
Her question one more time. Put it down so I can hit the notes.
Yeah. Mitch wants to know, I'm not seeing marketing email data sets in any of my Ops Hub Enterprise clients portal. Is that not out to the public yet? I saw that in your available data sets earlier. So when you're when you're selecting your data sources in the first step, there's marketing email data apparently in your portal. Mitch is wondering why he doesn't have access to that. Yeah, that one there. This might be a good kit question.
It's not to customers yet. We're thinking about a beta about this. Basically, we're trying to figure out, like, there's all these questions customers want to answer about like their marketing email interactions. And there's just a ton of events. Not to belabor this conversation with technical stuff, but every time a customer clicks, opens, clicks a link, does X, Y, and Z, and it's like a new row. So there's millions of rows when we're doing emails. And basically, we're trying to figure out a way to make that like a really usable, easy source table for our customers. And we're working through it. So this is my portal where we test a lot of things, not to customers, but yeah, sneak peek about how we're trying to feel like make that easier to report on your marketing emails.
Cool. I think if you want to continue on, there will be more questions, but I'd love to give you a chance to talk for a bit before we put more on you.
Cool. Okay. And we're here for an hour, right?
Yes, indeed. So we're about halfway through.
Dope. Okay. Let's try to name this. Webinar test. Review. Review step basically just shows you some information about, again, someone asked about formatting, like data types. We're pulling these data types in the system, and we're just helping you understand what this data type is after you create a data set. So move next, save, save. Got a good question about what's the point of this if I can't make a report? This is where I get into that. Build a report. So again, if you're building a report from scratch without a data set, the biggest difference you would see here is you see all of the properties in your system, and you would not have the derived fields that we made together in this demo. So I made a pretty small condensed data set, but this could be more. I think their current limits are about 20 different properties and 10 dataset fields. And I'm working with legal to try increase that limit for our enterprise users to make it allow you to give more flexibility and make a data set a little bit bigger so you can have more use cases off that data set. It's something we've heard from more power users that they just want more fields, like give me more fields. But as I'm making a report, I can use any of the visualization types that you would in Custom Report Builder. What is the most intuitive thing to work with? Let's work with the bar chart. So I'm looking at, so the question I want to answer from this report would be, tell me how much money we're making from our priority deals. If you remember, we define priority as greater than $150,000 in annual recurring revenue, I think. So I'll say I want to bucket my deals in the x-axis in priority. Boom, no priority. And the emoji that works, that's crazy. I got to send this to Kit. Screenshot of an emoji. Okay, so the emoji, and then I want to understand the annual recurring revenue in these priority segments. This shows me that in the no priority segment, we actually have a pretty small opportunity, about 840K of revenue. But in the mind exploding high priority, we have $10 million revenue. This might not be, I don't think my portal's in American dollars. So sorry, this weird decimal point here. And then I can use a breakdown field to understand which account executives are handling these deals. So Stephen is accounting for 67% of this pipeline of mind exploding deals. And then Christina is about $3 million deals. Or I could use something like a deal name as the breakdown to understand like, what are the actual deals contributing to this segment? But hopefully the aha moment here is the ability to create a column in data sets allows you to completely recontextualize your data. Instead of looking at your data based on like deal names, whatever else, on the x-axis of this report, you have no priority and you have priority based on the conditional field you were able to create in data sets. And we can also look at something. I'm going to move to pivot table. So just a little bit more expressive, to be honest. So here I have all of the deals in priority. I can see all of the deal names, all of the ARR. If I want to, I can see the account executives on these deals, split the data up by that. And then besides for this, I can even see like how many days since creation has been open for. So when I'm looking at this pivot table, might be a little busy. There's ways to clean this up, but I see a couple of answers to questions. Here are our priority deals. They're all assigned to our deal reps. That's good. In the no priority category, Christina and Stephen are only counting for 2 deals. There's like however many deals are here are like unassigned. They're in the nether. They must be actioned on. And that's kind of information I'm getting from this. So hopefully that bridges the gap between like what's the point of what's happening in data sets and its curation of fields and derivation of new information that helps you reach new answers. And then in the report builder, you're building it all together. I think you asked me a specific question about like, if I can't do counts or aggregations, what's the point of all this? Well, here you have sum, you can do average, min, max, distinct count. This is where you do the aggregations or the summaries of your data to get the very specific questions that you need at top level view. Hopefully that makes sense. I didn't use too much jargon. Any questions on this?
I feel like you answered the question. Beth, who asked the question that you've been trying so hard to answer, asked a follow-up question, but I feel like maybe you covered it. She asked specifically about a report of contacts by conditional property. What you have here is a report of deals by conditional property, but everything you said would apply to other objects as well, right?
Yeah, totally. So that first step of the join, we select our source table. If I select the contact table, my data set would have each line representing a contact. In the same way I did something with priority, and I said, if X is true, label this row as Y. I could do that with contacts. If contact is from the South region, then mark as high priority. If it's from the North region, we may mark it as like priority 2. And then when we're looking at a report built of contacts, we'd be able to contextualize it similar to how we're looking at now, just with contacts.
Cool. And then Jay has a question here that I think you might be getting to a little later. Apologies if I missed this, but can we group data in the data sets? For example, I have a customer who wants to see the first deal amount, average deal amount, most recent deal amount, smallest deal amount, et cetera, per company for all closed won deals. We're evaluating if data sets can work for them or not. So you just talked a little bit about aggregations already. You mentioned in passing that some of the beta stuff you're going to show has grouping capabilities. I don't know if this is in line with what you were.
The question one more time for me though, like what was the motivation?
Yeah, I have a customer who wants to see the first deal amount, average deal amount, most recent deal amount, smallest deal amount, etc. So I think for a set of data, they want like max, min, average, mean, median, mode, all the different things laid out together. Would each of those just be a different derived field? Ah, I see. So Jay, let us know if this is.
So basically what's happening here is it depends on what you want to take a summary statistic of. You're asking about a sum, a median, a max, etc. If the median you want to understand is your revenue, I put the measure revenue, ARR, and then I change the summarization method to be average. So as you can see, like this, I think this is actually not very intuitive for many people using this. Like it wasn't intuitive when I was learning this. If you're not like super familiar with like BI tools, it's like this is something that is like a dynamic field. I dragged this in and I was able to change this to like one of multiple summary statistics, distinct count, sum, average, min, max. But that's all just based off this field. So here we're looking at a grouping of data based on priority. And then I have summary statistics on this group in sum, average, min, I can do max, and distinct count.
Cool. And then Logan asked, can we see how some of those aggregations work with the conditional fields?
Yeah, so I mean, this is a conditional field. It might be not in, let's see. Like the account executive is deal owner, but like the conditional field is priority. So I made this conditional field in Datasets, and it's actually doing the sum of ARR, the average of ARR of the minimum ARR for priority deals that are assigned to Stephen, and mind-blowing deals that are assigned to Stephen. And it's breaking out these in different lines for you. So he's like, it's answering different questions. The question in this line is saying, what's the average ARR of mind-blowing deals assigned to Stephen, assigned to Christina? If I wanted to do some totals here, I could do show subtotals. And I could see like for the whole thing, for this whole grouping of Stephen, the subtotal is 691 is the average. So it's basically taking every deal in these two categories and doing an average. So the real aha moment here should be a lot of the like data analysis happens in the report builder, and the data sets of the data sets tool is really about prepping your data for that analysis moment. And as I'm going to show you in the beta, maybe prepping it for other places besides just the report builder, but like really being like the home for data prep and making that prep process visual compared to preparing your data in like a property settings page.
Cool. So Jay, who was asking about max min and all the things, is also wondering how date could be pulled into this. So if there's a way to see, like, so if we were including close date or create date, since that's what you have here, could we see the first one? Could we see the most recent one?
Is this going to work? I have no idea. Let's see.
Do it live.
So he's asking about the first one. I probably should put it in values then. Let's take out some of this noise real quick. So let's take out account executives. Let's make this simpler to see. If I put it in values, it's a distinct count. Could I do the first one? Min, max. Let's see if I apply this. Well, this gives me the first create date. It does. So what you're asking is, can you see the minimum create date in a set of deals or a set of whatever object we're talking about? So in the priority here, again, custom grouping based on conditions. We made this field in datasets, priority. I'm seeing a summary statistic on the revenue in this column. And then this column, I'm looking at the create date, and I'm seeing within this column, what was the first create date that I can do for your context. The min, max, no aggregation, and distinct count for date fields. Again, report builder for analysis, datasets for prep.
Cool. So that would tell you for create date or close date, the first one, the last one. Jay is asking also now if we could go one level deeper, and for that mind-blowing deal that closed on 8/31, is there a way to see what the amount of that specific deal was?
So to see contextualize what you're seeing here, and like the answer is yes. The mind-blowing column here is showing you a grouping of deals because I'm using a pivot table. So this is actually like a summary table that has layers to it. This is kind of confusing. So what I'm looking here, if I click this, I actually see all of the deals that are in that thing we were visualizing. My data is horrible here. So actually, like, I clearly did a bulk import that just had a bunch of things at 8/31, but let's assume you guys had a real pipeline of flow where there was like, one or two deals at 8/31 and only these two here, you'd be able to see this specific deal. What's notably missing here is like, what is this deal name? I have no idea. We can change that. I can put this deal name into the field section. And then when I do this drill down, it will show me the actual deal name. So Amazing. This is undergraduate open house. The only thing is missing here that I think is like the obvious next step, because Jay is getting to the core of problems here, is like, can I actually click this and go right to the record? So can I hyperlink this? And that's something our team's thinking about.
Cool. But the data is there. Yep. And if there's other things, as long as they're in properties somewhere, you could add them as fields here and
also I put it in fields, but I mean obviously we could also just do it here and like you can just literally look at it. Like you can make it like
yeah, true. Yeah.
So it's just different ways to do things.
Logan points out that you could add a field or a row or whatever for record ID, and then that wouldn't quite be a hyperlink, but it would be pretty close.
Yep. There's a bunch of ways. My job and the product team is make it as easy as possible, but there's a bunch of ways to like help you get there. I've even seen customers use a concatenation. So data sets, we have the ability to use the function concat. If anyone doesn't know, that like helps you take, if I have first name and I have last name, concat's like, can I just mush these together and make them the same thing into a new column? And I've seen people concatenate hyperlinks. So they can just have hyperlink fields, basically.
Wow.
I've seen lots of things done.
Cool. John wants to know, would it be possible to build a data set to track total pipeline, open deal, value, weighted amount, week over week to see change?
Yeah. Let's move into the beta because I have a good example that actually shows things very much like that.
Cool.
Beta,
just a minute, but before you hop in, I would like to mention too that there is the sales analytics tool that shows some of this stuff. So there are a lot of good standard reports in there, John, if you haven't explored. There are deal waterfalls and things that show how your pipeline increases, decreases over whatever time period you're interested in. But Stephen, show us the beta stuff for people who love everything custom.
Cool. Great call. So this is something, it's called the oink oink test because the customer was like, if you could do this, I'd be happier than a pig rolling my own crap. And I was like, cool, let me show you something. But this is a custom data set that I made like in regards to a customer trying to like do something. I think the question they had here was to set the context what you're looking at. Like they had different pipelines, they had different deals, and they wanted to understand, here's the deal amount that we have for today. Like $1,000. We have forecasted a total of $15,000 of deal amount for this company this year. I want to know what is the amount pro rata at this time of the year. So we're looking at like this is saying, all right, right now we have $10,000. On the year, we want to make a total of $15,000. In November, we should expect to be at this number. What is the percent to target? And then they wanted me to show how we can do some weighted forecasts based on different assumptions and conditional logic. So I'm going to walk you through these like this setup and then show you one cool thing at the end. Amount, I just did deal amount. Amount pro rata, a little bit more complicated. This shows kind of like how you can really nest some things together and use like parenthetical expressions to say like what should be executed first. So the ceiling function. This is just because when I did this expression, it had like a lot of trailing decimal places and I just wanted to chop it off and make it a round number. That's all this is doing. So if I look inside this expression, what's really happening here is I'm saying 15,000 divided by 12. I'm doing this because I have bad data, but I'm saying whatever your actual forecasted amount is should be probably captured in a property. If your forecast amount for a company is like some number you know, put it in a property, reference it here. I use 15,000 because I have nothing like that in my portal and just wanted to have some round number. I'm dividing by 12 because there are 12 months in the year. Then I multiply the date part. So then I look at today and I say, what is the month of today? And when I look at the month of today, I'm like, okay, it's telling me it's the 11th month of the year. And I'm multiplying by like however many months in the year have passed by gives me like 11 months times 15,000 divided by 12, which gives me 13,750. And then what I do, now I want to know what's the percent difference, like the percent of total between the amount and amount pro rata. And then you just say amount divided by amount pro rata, multiply by 100 to get the percentage target. This is a percentage field. This is something I was showing them because I wanted to show them how they can use the beta to their to solve what they needed to in the moment. I think there's probably better practices here that our team will work to make it so that you don't have to do this all in data sets. I don't think data sets is the best place to do all of this. Some of this just gets into best practice around reporting. But I want to show this nonetheless because like it's something that helps people today. And like if it can help people today, we should help them achieve it. So then the last step of this whole like wonky data set is how did I make some sort of like unweighted or weighted forecast. This is an if function. So basically what I did here was this customer told me they had different like kind of conditions based on stage of the deal. So if the deal stage was qualified to buy, then they weighted the deal at 50%. If the deal stage was at proposal to sent, then they weighted the deal at some higher percentage, like 85%. We're almost across the line. I could nest a third if statement here to do like, if the deal stage is closed one, boom, 100%, and we move forward. But basically I'm showing you how you can kind of like just combine all of these different things you're talking about with like amount. It's just a direct reference. You're using date part here, plus the now function. You are using just simple arithmetic here to get this divided by this times this. And then you're doing some sort of actual forecasted weight based on conditions of the if statements. It can get complex. It can be simple. Like the goal of our team is kind of like do the data prep you need and give you the tools to do it, and then try to simplify like once we start giving you the tools. Right now, I think we're more in the stage of like give you the tools, and then we're gonna really start like ramping up on the simplification part. But like, what does this do and why is this a beta? I've only showed you stuff that's actually already possible. So let me go back. Actually, any questions of just the setup?
I was just going to ask that same thing. People are asking, how do I get access to this beta? But everything you've shown so far is live today in Datasets, right? Like all of that is just, you're not to the beta yet.
Nothing. Yeah, cool. Nothing. I'm just like heralding all of my knowledge because I have to look at this all day to you guys. But everything here, you too. Back to Datasets. So where's my oink oink dataset? Oink oink dataset. This is the actual beta. It's when you go into the manage page for a dataset that you've saved, we're giving you the ability to save a field back to a property. So like this stage weighted forecast I have, the way this will work, by the way, I'm not going to do this for this property because it's literally so simple. It's take the dataset field name, amount. This obviously already exists in my system. It's just deal amount. Create property, name the property, save. Boom, done. It's in your system. It's like that simple. Like you're just creating the label of what you want the property to be called. Make a description if you want to. Save a map, you're good.
And then just based on what data is in the field, it will choose the field type and everything, what object it's on. All of that is done automatically.
It will use the field type that you already can see here, and you know what it is. It's the data source in your, I'll show you, so actually look at this, but like stage weighted, I've done this exact thing. And then for this, I can click this in the property settings. It's a deal property. It just exists in your system, just like a property. One caveat here. There are two caveats. This is a beta, and one of the ways we scope this down to start kind of like getting proof of concept out there and getting feedback is data sets built on one data source can do this. So at the very beginning of this, I showed you how you can do all of these joins and stuff. For this, if you want to do this through data set, one source table. Second thing, this is using a snow, I don't know if technical deals matter. We're using a system that just has like, it can do like a lot of fancy query stuff and it's expensive. We've kind of like reduced the number of times refreshed. Most properties change every single time there's a change in any of the underlying properties or whatever, like rapid. It could change 1,000 times a day. We're refreshing this twice a day to start and seeing how people use that, seeing how they act. Like, does that reach their needs? Is it good enough? So our idea is that this is for stuff that you probably don't need to like filter your ticket pipeline by. So for your support team. It's probably a field that you need for like analysis that you probably aren't doing more than twice a day. Like no one's doing their forecasting more than twice a day or even like once a day. What can this do for you? Like that's the exciting part of this. This is a property. You can do anything with this. You can use it in a workflow to create tasks based on the weighted amount I just said. You can use it in filters for your boards. You can make lists off it. Like you can use it like a property. And what's like really exciting to me, like, cause I just think like we have all of this ability to create these rich like data fields. And the problem that we have, the customers like don't really ask for, but in my mind, I'm like, man, wouldn't it be cool if we could use it everywhere? Like this is it. So I have another example for a superstore that really had like, I can walk you through this more, but it's the same principle. So any questions before I go through one more example of this?
So people are saying, oh, that's awesome. This is amazing. What? Mic drop. That is awesome. So people are getting it, I think. So that if you create one of these properties, you don't have to go populate it anywhere, right? Similar to like a calculated property, it's just going to be populated on all of the relevant records, but just twice a day instead of continuously.
Yep.
Perfect. That makes sense. Let's see what's in the Q&A here. Okay, there are kind of a lot of general data sets questions. I would rather let you finish the you want to cover.
Okay.
If some of these need to be answered asynchronously afterward, that would be fine. But we've got like 6 minutes left here.
Okay.
While you last bit of your presentation here, everyone, I'm just dropping into the chat a SurveyMonkey link. I would love any feedback you have on this session. Give me a rating out of 10. Leave any qualitative feedback you have. I'll pass the nice ones on to Stephen and take the mean ones.
Oh, pass the mean ones on to me. I don't know. Pass the mean ones on, and the nice ones just pass me their hub IDs, and I'll help them get in the beta. Okay.
Cool. All right.
All right. For this one, it's a different portal. I don't want to spend that much time going through this, but basically, like it's a superstore. A lot of different systems use superstores to help you understand just like a bunch about their data. In this superstore, it's like a commerce. So there are products we're selling. They have sales, there's profits, the products have categories, the people that bought them are in cities, there's order dates. This is a really rich data set that we use internally to like try to make it easy to understand some concepts. What I want to show is like, so imagine you have this e-commerce store and there's a product name, you have all this rich information. What's a practical way of how you can use this data set? And I want to walk through this with you. So I have it. Cool. This way I can actually use this name, overdue ship date. So what I want to understand is like how many of these orders are going out to customers outside SLA. Before I worked at HubSpot, I worked at Walmart e-commerce, and I owned a P&L of products. And one of the things we have like SLAs in our ship dates, where you can, like we were trying to get things to people in like 2-3 days, maximum X number of days. Anything out of SLA was like a problem. We had to action on it from each like P&L owner. So I want to know if how did I do this before? I think I had to use a nested date diff. So if the date diff, this is me trying to really tie things together. So date diff, so if the days between the order date of a deal, order date of an order, the ship date of an order, oops, I didn't even break this bracket, ship date exceeds something like, this is bad data because it's a fake store, but let's just call it 50. Then I want to say out of SLA. Otherwise, in SLA. And so being able to kind of pull these concepts together, I'm taking the date diff, the if function, and I'm saying inside SLA or outside SLA based on how many days it took to actually get to the customer. God hopes that you're getting your stuff to your customers inside of 50 days. So there's why everything's like in SLA here, or actually because I get it backwards. So this should be inside SLA is actually saying that it was above that, and outside SLA is this. I think I might have gotten it backwards. If it's greater than 50, then it's in, nope, I got it wrong, guys, but it's outside SLA, inside SLA. I'm gonna leave it. And the point here is like, what do you do with this though? Well, one thing you do is like, you send it to your P&L owner or like whoever actually owns the product categories for this, and you send them like, say, hey, here's your report. This is how many of your orders, which I just showed you back at the customer report builder, are outside of SLA. You're especially missing SLA in the categories of like office supplies in Los Angeles. That's probably because your distributor is just like backed up beyond belief. Like COVID ruined their supply chain. You need to action on that. But also, you want to do something that's more automated. Like I want to go here, I want to review this, save, save. And I say, okay, overdue ship date, create property, overdue ship date. Save. Oh, I shouldn't have called that data set. That's confusing. That was not what I meant to do. But then you go to workflows and you say, in workflows, create workflow from scratch. I know I'm just like diving into workflows. I have no idea if anyone's familiar with workflows or how many people are, but I'm gonna try to go slow. You're gonna pick the object makes sense. So I did this in a custom object called orders. We could do this on deals, companies, whatever makes sense for like how this data is in your system. Order. Next. And I say, setup trigger, order. What did I call this? Overdue ship date. If it equal, so I just say if it is known, apply filter, save. And then I do a quick branch. If then, order, overdue, oops, overdue. If it is equal to, I believe I said in SLA, you get the point. Actually, this is wrong. I need to do it without the quotation marks. In SLA. And then what you can do here is, again, in SLA, you do nothing. If it's out of SLA, you send them an email saying, so sorry, like here's a discount code for your next time shopping with us. Something that's actually operational. And the point that I'm trying to make here, that like hopefully this is like, ooh, a cool moment, whereas like the data set allows for you to govern your data definitions, be super expressible using if functions, date diffs, and that allows you to do two things. One, be sure that the data you're using is actually accurate. This is all being governed in the central place of the data set, but it's also powering the reports that you're using to provide insights to your team, and is powering all the actions that you're using in the workflows. If you want to change like these different things and keep them in order, you go into your data set and you change your definitions, make adjustments, and they flow to the system. It's an essential thing that's keeping the logic of your data intact. So that's all I got. I know I'm 1 minute over.
No, that was great. Thank you so much. For those of you who have asked questions in the Q&A that we haven't gotten to, I have collected them together. The reason you were hearing Stephen's Slack sound so much is because I'm slacking them to him for safekeeping. So we'll work through those. We'll get them answered. I'll include answers to those in the follow-up I send out after this event. Stephen, thank you so much. People seem to really like data sets now. If they're interested in participating in betas and things, do you have instructions for them on how they can get involved?
We did a private closed beta for this first round of what I showed. So I would need the hub IDs before we just make the, what you call it? I know customers can sign themselves up for them now, but it's not open to that yet. So I'll just need hub IDs and emails.
Okay, cool. So yeah, friends, if you're interested in that beta, I'll be the gatekeeper for this. There's my email address in the chat. Feel free to hit me up. I can connect you to Stephen. Send me your hub IDs and we'll get it sorted out.
Cool. Thanks, Kyle. I hope you feel better.
Yeah, thanks. And have a good day.